Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This took place on a famous scout ranch known as Philmont in northeast New Mexico, specifically in Colfax County. Philmont is basically a backpacking thing where you go on planned treks inside like a huge private estate that was granted to the scouts in like the 30s. So for context, we were a group from SoCal that had 6 boys and 3 adults. Our adults were no older than 40, since 2 were once active scouts that were no older than 28, and the final one was a father of my friend who I will call Milo. All the boys were between 14 and 17. This was in like July of 2013. Be day 9 of our Philmont trek. We were almost done with trek. We had to stay at Uraka Camp, named after the mesa of the same name. We left our trail camp extremely late, nearing 11 a.m., due to one kid not feeling well. Slowed due to heavy rain and also lots of incline and decline. We hike for like 7 hours, and realize that we are still a mile and a half out. Decide we will have to set camp where we are if it gets too dark. We reach the base of Uraka Mesa at around sunset. Our navigator, I'll call him George, says it's steep and that we won't get to camp in time. We traverse our way up. By the time we get up, sun is setting. George mentions his compass is not working. No one cares, just trying to set up camp. We scramble to set up in the dark. I don't get fucking dinner. We see cat totems randomly place around the mesa. What the fuck? When I get in my tent, I cannot sleep. Sitting there listening. No sound. Eventually, I hear the slight groans from a short distance. Straining my ears to hear. Consistent low sounds and walking. I'm shitting my pants. We saw no one up here. Eventually I knock out at around 12 a.m. Wake up to Milo shaking me. Friend needs to fucking piss. Tell him I'm not getting my sorry ass out there. We bicker. Eventually I agree since, buddy system. I don't want to tell him about my sounds, scared to sound like a bitch. We climb out and walk a little ways for him to piss. Decide I should too. While I piss I hear him start yelping and running back to the camp. I stop mid-piss and run back. We jump in the tent. We zip that shit up and tie the little strings together. I ask him what happened. Said he saw some tall shadowy figure in the not so far distance and he ran. Ask what if it was just a person. Tells me it is way too tall. We sit there. Walking and groaning returns. Fuck. Eventually, it dissipates. I eventually fall asleep again. We wake up. Parents talk about the screams, groans, and footsteps. We tell them what happened. None of our group believes us, say it was just our overactive imagination. New navigator for the day complains of compass does not work until we get off mountain. When we get to the proper staff camp we explain what happened, and why we didn't stay at the camp. Counselors are livid, tell us about how it's dangerous due to lightning. It has the highest amount of lightning strikes in the whole camp. They tell us it is apparently a cursed and evil G-round for the Anasazi natives. They tell us the cats are to keep the magpies away, apparently they are evil birds. I refrain from telling them my specific experience. I did some research a while ago. Apparently the natives say they opened a portal to like their Helder, and there is all kinds of weird activity partly due to a large amount of lodestone stones which have a magnetic field.
Was on Boy Scout trip like 100 miles west from Philmont in New Mexico. Near Navajo Lake State Park. Camping with mates on edge of field BC. It was flat but had some trees where we could set up hammocks. Rowdy night. Am life scout. Too lazy to get eagle. 2 a.m. wake up in hammock. See younger scout looking out over the hilly plains near our campsite. Call his name. Shut the fuck up Anon, look at that. He points out over the field. Massive wolf-like dog looking at our camp. Stands there for what feels like 10 minutes. Was more like 30s. Thing rears up on hind legs and runs off the other side of hill away from view. I'm halfway out of hammock because looking. Did you fucking see that .mp4? Yeah, replied the kid. Both went back to sleep. Nothing else of note happened at all for the rest of the weekend.
Hey, X, I've been a long-time lurker on other boards. This is my first post. I'm getting married to a woman I've been with for the last 5 years. She believes in ghosts and other paranormal crap like that, and keeps weird crystals to ward off bad spirits. I don't believe in a lot of that, but her father said something to me on his deathbed. He died 2 months ago. I'll post what he said and the story he told me. Him and I were both Boy Scouts in our youth, and we both went to Philmont. It's a huge ranch in northern New Mexico that the BSA use for an extreme hiking experience. I'm going to Greentext my experience, and I'll Greentext his too if you guys want. Be me. 2011, 15 years old from Alabama. In bus going through northern Texas. It's night looking out on highway. See what I think is huge coyote. Think, everything is bigger in Texas. Next day, arrive at Philmont in base camp. They have these gates, only ways in and out of camp made of big totem poles. I was excited about to hike over 100 miles in a week and a half with guys I've known my whole life. Get assigned a female ranger, she's going to be our guide for the first 3 days. Get on bus, they drive us out on dirt road for maybe a few hours. Drop us off an hour before sundown. Hike half an hour, then make camp, and then make first dinner. 3 dads are with us. Mine was one of them. They go to sleep at like 10. Me and the other guys are too giddy to sleep. So, we go around our fire to start telling stories. Ranger goes to bed. She comes back 30 minutes later looking weird. Like she was wrong looked, like stuff crawling under our skin. She tries to get us to go with her to the woods to find nearby outhouse. They had one near every campsite. We all say no, and she starts getting weird. So, we all go to bed to get away from her. 4 a.m. I have to piss. I peek my head out. Oh fuck, the ranger is still sitting near the dead fire now. Shut tent and death grip knife. Something was making me panic and I couldn't figure out why. Next morning, ranger makes a joke about how we must have seen a ghost, because we were the first group that went to bed the first night. My face when she acts like we are crazy when we ask if she doesn't remember. Next days are weird. I've known these guys my whole life, but they are acting wrong, fighting and just doing stuff they wouldn't. On the 3rd day the ranger left. The 4th night I have to piss real bad. Wake up tent mate to come with me. We walk out into woods to piss. While pissing I look up and see a creature that has no right existing. Looking right at me. It was the top half of that coyote I saw in Texas, but it has antlers. It stood up on its hind legs and it had a nude male lower half. Tactically shit pants. Tell tent mate not to turn around, lock my arms with his. We walk back to back, and I have him lead me back to camp while I stare at this fucking thing. We get into tent. I get my dad's machete out of his bag. Luckily he didn't put it in the bear bag. Death grip machete all night. Next morning there's a huge fight between everyone. It gets so bad that I and a few other guys start punching. The next week, we are all constantly fighting. While on the trail we keep coming across half-eaten deer. Philmont also has free-range livestock cows and shit. 3rd to last day come across dead cow in the middle of the trail. The corpses look off. It couldn't be bears, because there was too much meat left on the bodies. 2nd to last campsite we get there and there's a 10-point buck's head in the trees near campsite. Father is in the army, so he decides we will stay in a campsite a mile down the trail. When we get there everything's normal, there are other groups there too. That night one of the others' group's bags got ransacked, and their bear bag was ripped out of tree. Next morning we nope out of there without breakfast. Last campsite nothing happens. Last day, we travel the longest distance we have to go. We will literally walk back into base camp. The day goes on normal and there are no fights or dead animal bodies. We are walking through the north entrance we get through. I turn to friends behind me. I start to apologize to them. And that's when I fucking see it. The huge coyote on hind legs with human arms fucking waving at me with what I assume is a smile. A year later, Dad's job moves us to East Texas. Dad buys a McMansion out in the boonies. Everything normal. I meet future wife. Start dating her. Weird shit starts happening. Find dead animals on road. See coyotes. Finally graduated high school and moved to near big city in my first apartment. She moves in. Meet her dad. Parents separated. He's cool old hippie. I have him over for weeks at a time. Me and him talk about everything. I tell him how I was a Boy Scout. He asks if I went to Philmont. Say yeah. Under his breath says, that's where I met it. He gets quiet and won't talk much anymore. The next day I take him home. We get to his house and he hands me one of rings. It's a metal biker skull ring. He tells me to wear it when me and his daughter go out. I don't hear from him for 2 months. One day I'm getting groceries with future wife. She gets a call from her aunt. Her dad was in the hospital. He had gotten bite by something and didn't tell anyone. So, his leg was sepsis. Wife has to go to hospital to sign paperwork for power of attorney. They amputated his leg. When he gets up from surgery he is unbelievably upset. Says he can't fight it off now. Fight what off? He quits eating and talking. They put in a feeding tube and put mittens on his hands so he can't take out feeding tube. He somehow gets mittens off. Rips out feeding tube. We get call from doc. He has maybe a day. My wife upset. We go see him. He won't talk to her. She runs out crying. I get mad. And I get in his face. He grabs my arm. Says,
"You have to protect her from it. I know you saw it at Philmont. It's followed me my whole life. You have to protect her. Keep that ring on you at all times."
Then he lays back and doesn't say another word. Leave, comfort wife, and go home. Next day he dies, and we get him cremated. Keep his urn on the mantelpiece. Have a memorial for him at his best friend's house. On way there I was wearing the ring he gave me, when something huge darts across road. Wife thinks it's a dog, but dogs don't get that big. While at memorial his 2 ex-wives show up. The first, not my wife's mom, starts going on about how he never wanted to move out of the city. She goes on about how he always was burning sage and shit like that. And starts talking about how dead animals would show up on the doorstep. Wife starts getting upset, so me and her dad's best friend, wife's godfather, ask ex-wife one to leave. Wife's grandma outlived her dad. While we were there she pulls me towards the porch, under the excuse of a cigar and cigarette. She hands me this tiny old book with no writing on the cover. Says it's wife dad's book of John, that he took it everywhere with him. She tells me he told her about Philmont, and tells me about what happened to him. She tells me that I have to take care of wife, because she's his only daughter and the creature is out for blood. I go back inside and listen to stories about the guy. Notice a pattern about him. He always preferred the city and he kept his distance from almost everyone except his mom. The memorial ends, we start to head home. It's dark now. Get halfway home and there's a dead hog. Which is weird because the nearest wild hogs are over 100 miles away. We go around it and bull it home. We get home and wife goes to bed. I stay up and open the book of John to a note with a combo and B25 written on if falls out. On the back of it is a storage unit place as written on it. Show wife. Go to storage unit the next day. I pay the desk for the final payment and go open it up. Filled to the brim with old boxes, food, and suitcases. Start going through the stuff. Start finding weird shit, swords, knives, notebooks filled with incoherent writings, and newspapers, every local newspaper from 1987 to 2008. We throw most of it away to find wife's old baby stuff and it makes her happy. I keep bitchin' sword. On way home I hit a coyote with the truck. Even in some of the cities the wildlife creeps in. My inner hick kicks in, that's a good pelt at least. Pull truck over, hop out, go examine coyote with my pocket knife out, get close, set it has human hands. I bolt back to truck, wife doesn't know why and starts to ask, what's wrong? As I peel down the highway, just say it was too mangled to salvage. It's been relatively normal for a month. Yesterday, I'm getting up to go to gym before work. I walk into front apartment patio and there's a fucking dead coyote. Rush back inside and grab my machete. I go back out and roll it over my face when no human hands. Grab trash bag and gloves because I can't skin it on porch, and take it to the dumpster. On way to work after gym, notice an old man staring at me from sidewalk. I feel that there is something wrong about him, but I just can't put my finger on it. He smiles at me with the same smile as that thing gave me on my last day at Philmont. Instantly I go home and call out of work for the rest of the week, and barricade apartment. Luckily wife is between jobs, so get her to stay with me. This is the first chance I've had to slip away from her to post. Do you guys have any idea what this thing is and how to get rid of it?
Be me, 17-year-old in Boy Scouts around 1998-99-ish. Doing low-impact hiking, camping for a solid month in Philmont, New Mexico. Been waiting for this for so damn long, finally get to do this. JPG. It's like a rite of passage for people in Boy Scouts who take it seriously and get something out of it, aka pre-army training. We are in the middle of our trip on top of Uraka Mesa, reported to be haunts, trippy as fuck, freak lightning storms with no reason, ball lightning in the middle of the night. Hike for hours to only travel 5 feet when you turn around to hike back kind of shit. Well, I can confirm some of this shit, not all. We get to the top and stop for lunch. Fuck yeah, shitty trail mix emmers. Tastes like heaven though, cuz it's the best food we have. I finish my lunch first and nature calls time to water the lawn. Gif. Excuse myself from the group. Our trail boss tells me not to go too far because trippy shit is trippy and really can happen. Happened to him, whatever, old fart you making stuff up. Bin. Suffice to say, I did not believe at that time. I just thought he was making shit up, campfire stories and shit. Nope. I go about 40 yards out and find a thirsty looking shrub. Don't worry shrub bro, I got ya. Pissing on a shrub feels good, man. Looking around enjoying the breeze as I piss. Notice a guy about 10 yards away walking around like he is looking for something. He is looking at the ground real hard like he can't find his compass or something, kind of walking in a circle too. Why is he all dresses in black with back gloves and a black cowboy hat? I ask myself. Odd. Finish pissing, see him stop and then seemingly jump into a hole in the ground. Decide to go investigate. Zip up my pants and walk out to where he was. Look for the hole, no hole. Keep looking for a while, wandering around while making sure I know where my trail buddies are. Still no fucking hole. Find the spot where I estimate his hole to have been. Nothing there but bare ground. Everywhere else is vegetation, grass, shrubs and shit. Figure out it's probably a trap door or some shit that they use to jump out of and scare the shit out of hikers. Stomp on it a couple times, nothing. Decide to stand on it, jump a few times to let them know I found it. Nothing. Yell down. Hey, I know you're in there, come out and talk to me. Suddenly get a cold feeling all over. Wind from fucking nowhere. Hasn't been windy all day, not even a breeze. Sky goes dark like the sun is setting, but no stars, no clouds, it's a clear sky, sunny day. Start feeling weak, sick. Vision starts to blur like I'm going to pass out. Stumble off of the spot. Everything snaps back to normal and I feel perfectly fine. The fuck was that? Calmly nope the fuck out of there and walk back to where my trail bros are. I walk calmly for fear that if I move quickly it will know I am scared and come get me. I was kind of in shock at the whole event. Okay? Go easy on me. Check time. Oh. Shit, it's been a full hour, they will be pissed as fuck. Oddly, it takes less time to get back than it took to get out to my piss bush. See them in the distance. They are not moving. WTF? Keep my eyes locked on them so as to notice any movement at all. Get closer about 10-ish yards from them and they start to move as though someone had paused them then pressed play again like a movie on a computer. Trail boss notices me. Hey, that didn't take long. Did you decide to hold it until we get down to Mesa Base Camp? Sir, what are you talking about? I have been gone for an hour. Shut your mouth, boy. Why, yes, sir. He takes me aside and has me retell everything that happened to me while I was gone. He checks my watch for time difference. Full hour ahead, WTF? Did you mess with your watch, boy? No, sir. Okay, well, set it backward by 1 hour and don't tell anyone what happened until we get back to Tent City. He tells me to not wander away from the group for the rest of the time we are at Philmont. Tells me that they know me now and may try to take me if I am alone. I listen this time while at Uraka Base Camp we have more shit go down. During the night a bear wandered in and started wrecking people's tents and shit. Nobody was hurt. Turns out the whole area around the mesa is haunted as fuck too. So much so that they guys at the Uraka Base Camp have to sleep in shifts so that they have patrols going at all times. Strangely, there is also a ghost couple that haunts around there keeping some of the bad shit away. They actually warn people off from dangers in the area. I met them the night of the bear attack. They poked their heads in me and my buddy's tent and told us to stay put for the rest of the night because there was a bear about. I asked a camp leader about it the next morning and he told me all about them. They apparently will notify the Uraka camp staff if shit's going down and will also talk to the campers. But everybody just thinks it's a weird as fuck dream when it happens. None of the camp staff talks about them, and few if any campers talk about them either.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.